She's pregnant, Janelle. It's your duty. She's family pride. That's what my mother said, smirking, when I walked up to my own front door and found the locks changed. Not a joke. Not a mistake. While I was at work, they had packed up my belongings, stuffed them into storage without asking, and handed the keys to my house to my stepsister, Anna, the golden child, the pregnant one, the one who'd never worked a full-time job, but somehow always had a new phone, a new boyfriend, and a new excuse. And me? I was just the one with a salary, benefits, and a mortgage in my name. They didn't even call. No warning. No conversation. I found out when I tried to unlock the door after my shift at the hospital, and my key didn't work. I thought maybe I'd made a mistake, tried it again, then rang the doorbell, and Anna answered. In my bathrobe, holding a smoothie, with my cat in her arms. Mom said you'd understand, she said, shrugging. You're good at handling stuff. Behind her, I saw her boyfriend on my couch. The TV was on. My plants had been moved. My mail sat on the dining table, opened. I didn't scream. I didn't demand anything. I just turned around, got in my car, and drove to a hotel. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop. I pulled up my mortgage documents, my insurance policy, my security system settings, the property deed, every legal tie that connected me to that house. And I started writing a list, not of what they took, but of what I was about to take back. Because I didn't argue. I didn't beg. But when I fought back, their worst nightmare came true. I was never the favorite. Not after Mom married Frank, my stepdad, when I was 9. Before that, it was just the two of us. She worked hard, loved harder, and used to braid my hair while telling me I could be anything. But after the wedding, that version of her faded like old wallpaper. Frank was loud, old school, believed girls needed to be taught their place. He had 2 kids from his first marriage, both older. His son moved out early, but his daughter, Anna, became the center of everything. She was beautiful, spoiled, reckless, and always forgiven. I was the opposite, quiet, academic, obsessed with rules and fairness. I paid for my own textbooks, got a scholarship, and skipped every spring break to work extra hours. Anna, she crashed 2 cars before she turned 21 and once called me a walking resume with no personality. Still, I never held it against her. Not really. I thought eventually if I just kept being dependable, they'd see my value. They didn't. Mom and Frank loved bragging about me to neighbors. Our doctor girl, our stable one, but behind closed doors, I was the default support system. If Anna overdrew her account, I covered it. If Frank needed help refinancing the truck, I walked him through it. When Mom wanted to surprise Anna with a baby shower last year, guess who booked the venue, paid the deposit, and smiled through all of it? I let them use me, because I thought that's what good daughters do. I didn't even blink when Mom asked me to help her and Frank qualify for a home equity loan. They just needed my credit score to strengthen the file. I signed some documents without reading them fully. I trusted them. That trust ended the day they took my house. Let me clarify something. I bought that house on my own. Not with their help. Not with Frank's name on the deed. I worked 2 jobs for 4 years, built my credit, skipped vacations, and ate canned soup long enough to stack the down payment. That house was mine. My safe place, my investment, my proof that hard work mattered. So when I stood on the front steps, staring at a new lock, listening to my mother tell me I needed to make room for family, all I felt was clarity. They hadn't just crossed a line. They'd erased the entire blueprint of who they told me I was supposed to be: useful, quiet, supportive. But I was done performing. And this time, I wasn't going to be the one cleaning up someone else's mess. Looking back, it was never just one moment. It was 100 little signs I ignored. Not because I was blind, but because I kept giving people the benefit of the doubt long after they'd spent it. There was the time Anna accidentally forwarded me an email thread between her and Mom titled Nursery Ideas. I thought she was excited about being pregnant. But in the email, she said, if Janelle moves out, the guest room could be perfect. She barely lives there anyway. I laughed it off. I lived there full time. I worked 12-hour shifts and came home to collapse into my bed, not socialize. When I asked my mom about it, she said, "Oh, you know how she is. Always dreaming big. Don't take it seriously." Then there was the time Frank asked for a copy of my house key, just in case of emergencies. I told him no, and he seemed annoyed but dropped it. Later, my mother gave him one just for safety. I took it back and changed the code on the garage. They both acted like I was paranoid. "We're family," Mom said. "What are you so afraid of?" Turns out, I was afraid of exactly this. There was even a moment, just weeks before it happened, when Anna walked into my house uninvited. She claimed she thought Mom was here. She sat on my couch, turned on my TV, helped herself to snacks, and left her muddy shoes at the door like she owned the place. When I confronted her, she rolled her eyes. "Geez, Jill, you've got enough space for a dozen people." I didn't see it then, but now I do. They were preparing, planting the idea that the house wasn't truly mine, that I was just holding it until someone more important came along. Pregnancy had become their trump card. Anna being pregnant made her suddenly delicate. Holy, entitled. The future of the family, as Frank put it during a dinner I paid for. They didn't ask me if I was okay. Didn't ask if I wanted to help. They expected me to bend. Quietly. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't just a house. It was about control. And taking it back wasn't going to be about yelling or drama. It was going to be methodical, legal, precise, because I wasn't going to fight them on their level. I was going to make sure they never saw me coming. I didn't confront them. That would have been giving them exactly what they wanted, a scene. Something to twist. Something to make me look like the unstable, selfish one. So instead, I stayed quiet. And I made a plan. The first thing I did was go through the paperwork. I still had every email, every contract, every document tied to that house. I hadn't been careless, just trusting. But even in trust, I'd kept records. The deed? In my name only. Frank and Mom had co-signed for the original equity loan, but I'd paid it off. Anna's name was nowhere. There was no lease, no rental agreement, nothing formal tying her or her boyfriend to the property. In the eyes of the law, they were trespassers. Next, I called a lawyer, not a cheap one. A real estate attorney named Mr. Greaves, who specialized in unlawful occupation and family fraud. I booked a consult and brought everything. The security footage from the day I was locked out, the messages, the emails, and the footage from my doorbell cam showing Anna unlocking the door after my mother left. He read through the documents, then looked at me and said, "They just handed you a winning case. Most squatters try to hide. Your family handed you proof." He drafted the first letter that same day, a formal cease and desist, followed by an eviction notice that would be legally served within 72 hours. Then I called the utility companies. One by one, I reactivated the bills, but not to pay them. No, I reactivated them in my own name and added service alerts for any tampering. If they tried to switch anything without my approval, I'd get notified. The moment the eviction was processed, I planned to have them all cut off again, legally. Next came the locks. I scheduled a locksmith for the exact hour the eviction would finalize. And I didn't stop there. I also changed my security system settings, silently activating cameras in every corner of the house, giving me full visual access from my phone. I could see every time Anna used my microwave, every time her boyfriend sat on my couch, every time she threw her feet up on my coffee table like it was hers. I wasn't just taking notes. I was building a timeline and a case. Meanwhile, I stayed at a friend's house across town. I didn't tell anyone, didn't post on social media, didn't engage with the frantic messages I was now getting from Mom, who suddenly wanted to talk this out as a family. It was never a family decision when they changed the locks. But now that I had the upper hand, now it was supposed to be about love. I smiled at the voicemail. "We just want to move forward," she'd said. And I was going to help them do exactly that, just not in the direction they expected. The eviction notice was delivered on a Tuesday morning by a sheriff, not a phone call, not a warning. A uniformed officer knocking on my front door to inform them they had 72 hours to vacate the property or be forcibly removed. I watched the whole thing from my phone, my security cameras catching every second. Anna opened the door in one of my old t-shirts, her hair in a messy bun. She looked half asleep, still holding the smoothie she'd probably made with my blender. Behind her, her boyfriend hovered awkwardly. I watched as the officer handed her the envelope. Her face shifted in real time, confusion, disbelief, then pure panic. You can't be serious, she shouted. My mom said this was my house. I'm pregnant. Where am I supposed to go? She called my mom within seconds. I know because 5 minutes later, I got a voicemail. Janelle, my mother said, her voice cold and clipped. This is beneath you. Family doesn't evict family. I didn't respond because family doesn't steal your home while you're at work. The next day, I got another message, this time from Frank. You're blowing this out of proportion. It was just temporary. She needed a safe place while she gets on her feet. Oh, now it was temporary? Funny. That's not what they said when they moved my things into storage without asking and told me to be proud of giving up my house for the future of the family. That phrase still makes my skin crawl. I drove by the house once, not to gloat but to confirm. The front yard was trashed. My garden was overgrown. The windows were open even though the AC had been shut off. The place didn't look like a home. It looked like a shell, like what they left me with. On the third day, the final deadline, they still hadn't left. So I let the sheriff handle it. They were escorted out with suitcases and backpacks, Anna in tears, Frank cursing the law, and my mom silent. For the first time in years, she had nothing to say. No script. No guilt trip. No justification. Just defeat. That afternoon, I had the locksmith change the locks again, replace the keypad, reset the security system, and walked into my home for the first time in nearly 2 weeks. It was a mess, but it was mine again. And this time, I wasn't opening the door for anyone who thought they could take it from me. 3 days after the eviction, the silence broke. Not from my mother, from Anna's boyfriend. A long, desperate text arrived out of nowhere. I know we didn't handle things right, but she's pregnant and we have nowhere to go. Could you at least let us stay until the baby comes? Please. She's not okay. Not okay. Neither was I when I found strangers in my kitchen. When my mother erased my name from the home, she watched me build. When I was expected to smile through it for the sake of family pride, I didn't reply, not because I didn't care, but because I finally did. About me. I focused on getting my house back in order. The first thing I did was toss out every sheet, plate, and towel they touched. I deep cleaned the place, scrubbed their perfume out of the furniture, and donated anything that smelled like their guilt. Then I went into the storage unit, the one they dumped my belongings into without permission. It was chaos. Boxes crushed. Kitchenware broken. Important documents bent or missing. My diploma shoved in sideways under a box of someone else's shoes. I took pictures. Then I called my lawyer. He helped me file a civil claim for property damage and emotional distress. I wasn't expecting much financially, but I wanted it documented. I wanted there to be a record that I hadn't just let this happen. Because that's the thing about people like them. They count on your silence. They think you'll be too tired, too kind, too scared to stand up for yourself. Not this time. And then the ripple effect started. Word got around. Our extended family caught wind of the eviction, of the locks being changed, of Anna living rent-free in a house that wasn't hers. At first, I said nothing. But when my mother tried to twist the story, framing me as ungrateful and bitter, I calmly shared screenshots, legal filings, photos of my house post-eviction, her voice on the voicemail saying, "She's pregnant, Janelle. It's your duty." The narrative cracked. People saw it. A cousin messaged me privately. "We always wondered why you were so quiet. Now I get it." My mom's reputation began to fracture. Anna's baby shower was canceled due to scheduling issues. Frank's boss, who knew me personally, pulled him aside and asked if the rumors were true. They were. And suddenly, the image they worked so hard to polish started falling apart. They'd spent years demanding loyalty, obedience, image. Now, all they had was exposure. And the daughter they'd tried to erase? She had her house, her name, her proof. And the one thing they never expected her to keep, her power. Peace didn't arrive like a parade. It came in small, quiet moments, like making coffee in my kitchen again and realizing I didn't have to ask anyone if they'd used the last of the creamer. It came when I opened the curtains and saw sunlight hitting the hardwood floors I had picked out and remembered they were mine again. Not shared, not occupied, not stolen, just mine. The first night back, I sat on the floor of my bedroom. No bed frame, just a mattress, a blanket, and my cat curled up at my side. The house echoed differently now. Not empty, just honest. And for the first time in weeks, I slept. Deeply. Without checking cameras. Without waiting for another betrayal. The next morning, I started putting my life back together. Not just physically, but emotionally. I canceled therapy appointments I'd been dodging and showed up. I told my story, start to finish, to a therapist who looked me in the eyes and said, "You weren't overreacting. You were being erased. And you stopped it." That sentence stayed with me. I reconnected with friends I'd pulled away from during the chaos. I hosted a brunch, nothing fancy, just pancakes and good company. When someone asked if I was okay, I didn't say fine. I said getting there. And I meant it. Work got easier, too. My focus returned. My patience felt less like weight and more like purpose. One afternoon, I helped an elderly woman through a difficult diagnosis. And as I sat with her, she squeezed my hand and said, "You have the calm of someone who survived something." I smiled, because I had. I even started writing again, something I hadn't done since college. Not about the house or the drama, but about boundaries, about women who give too much, about daughters who are told their silence is love. I didn't know what I'd do with the writing, but I knew I wasn't done. One day, as I walked home from work, I passed a for sale sign on a small commercial unit, and the tiniest spark hit me. What if? What if I opened a space for women like me? Financial workshops, legal literacy, therapy partnerships, a space where women could come when their own family tried to silence them. I wasn't sure yet, but I'd saved enough, and I wasn't afraid to build something from the ground up anymore, because I knew what it took. I knew what it cost, and I knew what it was worth. It's funny what people think closure looks like. They picture grand gestures, apologies, tears, a scene where the villain says sorry and the heroine walks away in slow motion. That's not how it happened. Closure, for me, came on a quiet Sunday morning, standing barefoot in my kitchen with sunlight on my face, flipping through my mail. Among the bills and local flyers was a small envelope, no return address. Inside was a card. "We didn't handle things right. I hope someday you understand that everything we did was for Anna's future. Mom." No apology, just deflection in cursive. I placed the card on the counter. Didn't shred it, didn't burn it, just left it there, like a piece of furniture in someone else's house. It didn't belong to me anymore, because I finally understood something I wish I'd known years ago. Being related doesn't mean you're family, and being family doesn't mean you're entitled to someone else's sacrifice. They taught me how to shrink, how to stay quiet, how to carry weight that wasn't mine. But in trying to take everything from me, they handed me something else. Clarity. The locks they changed on me, I replaced them with stronger ones. The home they invaded, I reclaimed every inch. The version of me who would have begged for understanding, she doesn't live here anymore. In her place stands someone who chooses herself, not out of spite, but out of survival. I still don't know where Anna ended up. I hear whispers, a motel out of town, a breakup, a GoFundMe page I didn't click. I don't wish her harm. I don't wish her well. I just don't wish anything. And that is peace. I sit on my porch now some nights, journal in my lap, cat in my arms, thinking about how close I came to letting them write my story for me. But now I know better. I'm the author. I'm the owner. And I'm the door that no longer opens for people who knock with entitlement in their fists. There's a new welcome mat outside. It says, "No guilt, no games, no second chances." Some people might say that's cold, but I say it's home.